Do you see this bike behind me? Do you have any idea what model this bike could be? Keep watching and let's find out. What is this bike? This is a bike I never thought I would see, let alone have the opportunity to ride. This is the Honda DN01. There are not many around. Dealers will tell you the DN01 stands for Do Not Order One. Not because they were bad bikes, oh, far from it. In fact, they were quite amazing, especially at the time. They were just too high priced to sell back then. For a 680cc bike that didn't fit any of the cookie-cutter motorcycle styles, $15,000 and up was pretty steep. It isn't a bagger. It isn't a tourer. It's kind of a sport bike, but not as fast as the price was tall back then. I was out visiting my local Honda dealer because they are not just a dealer for me, but also a riding destination. We all have to have somewhere to get off the bike and stretch our legs, right? Sometimes I pop in, say hi, and leave. Other times I run into something really surprising and intriguing, like this. The DN01 was for sale here in the United States for only 2 years, 2009 and 2010. Besides the shark-like shape and rich, deep paint, it has something unique to Honda. It's not just an automatic transmission, it's a beltless, hydromechanical, continuously variable transmission. Honda called it a human-friendly transmission. Unlike a scooter, there are no belts to break or replace. There are no gears like in a DCT, so what you get is the smoothest transmission possible. The engine is a 680cc with about 45 horsepower and a top speed of 113 miles per hour. Well, eventually, and in sport mode. Do you remember how I always whine about the handlebars not coming back far enough to meet my hands when sitting upright on most motorcycles? Not so on this bike. They are perfectly placed for me. I'm 5'10", and they'd be perfectly placed for somebody shorter than me, too. Now, the windshield, however, is too low to serve any purpose other than looks. But come on, look at this thing. It's a red shark. The windshield makes it look really well. So let's take it for a spin. So with an automatic, you start the bike like normal, except there is no clutch lever to pull back. The bike is naturally in neutral. Then you press D for drive on the right grip controls. On a DCT, you will feel it clunk into gear, but not on the DN01. No sound at all to my helmeted ears. Once in drive mode, nothing happens at all until you twist the throttle, and then off you go. The DN01 takes off smoothly and so very well controlled, with no clunking of gears, as I mentioned. It's very much like riding an electric motorcycle, but a bit noisier, as electric motorcycles have no exhaust. You won't hear much of the exhaust after you get up to speed, though, because the wind will be singing loudly over that windshield. Just like on most sport bikes, though. Now with 45 or so horsepower, it's simply just fast enough. It will do interstate speeds, as I'm about to do. Keep in mind that I'm used to 100 plus horsepower, so your results may vary. This could be the fastest bike you've ever been on. Don't get me wrong, it's a very fun bike. There are 2 ride modes on the left grip controls, D and S. In normal drive mode, or you could call it default, the bike sips fuel slowly, and it gets you from A to B in a very well-behaved manner. I prefer to misbehave, so I put it in sport mode. I like all the power at my command. You can set the bike to manual gears if you wish, and an electronic controller will simulate switching the gears that aren't there by changing the power bands. I didn't try it because the automatic transmission was doing its job perfectly, better than any DCT to my experience, and those certainly don't suck. If you haven't tried a DCT transmission, you owe it to yourself to do so. I have a few friends who insist on driving stick in their old trucks, and I'm telling you, today's automatics do it better, especially on motorcycles. Think about it. Unless you have a slipper clutch or a speed clutch, you are cutting power to the bike's drive wheel every time you pull in the clutch to change gears. Although that's engaging, a DCT or dual clutch transmission can shift far faster than you can. And DCTs, or the DN1 in this case, will never stall on you at a stoplight when you're staring at that pretty girl in the car next to you and the light turns green and you realize you forgot to downshift. This gearless DN01 has no gears to shift to. The seat on this bike is cushy, just the way I like, although it slants down towards the tank slightly. With the forward floorboards and the laid-back handlebars, you almost want to just lie down backwards as you spin that throttle. The dual front brake rotors mean this was not a cheap machine, and they bring the bike to a perfectly controlled stop, rear brake optional. With both tires being 17 inches, turning around is as easy as thought. If I hadn't already owned a Honda NM4 Bat bike, please see my review on that one, I would be making room in my garage for this one. Please, I'm begging you, buy this before I do. I love the looks of this machine, I love the way it handles, and I can live with the 700 cc's. Buy a tail bag or a backpack though too, because there's no place for a sandwich on this model, just like most sport bikes. Now this is February 2022, and it's available at Interstate Honda in Fort Collins, Colorado, a dealership now owned by the famous Broncos quarterback John Elway. It will have brand new tires on it as soon as they get here, but these tires work fine for me now. How much is it? I'm going to tell you, because price transparency is the way.
This is the way.
It's $74.99, new tires included. By the way, Interstate Honda, Noco Powersports, and John Elway Harley-Davidson have gone completely transparent in their pricing. There's no recondition or setup fees on used bikes, unlike a certain Harley dealer in Loveland I could mention. This is why I endorse the dealerships I do. I'm not paid a dime so far. I simply believe in places that don't try to rip me off and wring every penny from all avenues of my revenue. So it may not have been easy to love the DN01 when it first came out, especially with how groundbreaking the transmission is, with how weird the thing looks. But it's fun as hell now, and it's for sale at Interstate Honda.